Alois Hitler, a stern customs official, and Clara Polzel, a devout Catholic, welcomed their son Adolf into the world on April 20, 1889. Alois, a man known for his strict demeanor and rigid discipline, had high expectations for his children. Clara, on the other hand, was a nurturing and deeply religious woman who doted on her son. This combination of stern authority and tender care would shape Adolf's early years in profound ways. The small Austrian town of Braunau am Inn was the setting for this inauspicious birth. Nestled along the banks of the Inn River, Braunau was a quiet, unassuming town, far removed from the political and social upheavals that would later define Adolf's life. The town's serene environment belied the storm that was brewing within the Hitler household. Little did they know, their child would one day plunge the world into darkness. As a baby, Adolf was like any other child, innocent and full of potential. His early photographs show a cherubic face, giving no hint of the future tyrant he would become. Yet, even in these early years, the seeds of his future were being sown. Young Adolf's early life was marked by instability and the strict hand of his father. Alois's job as a customs official meant the family moved frequently, never staying in one place for long. This constant upheaval made it difficult for Adolf to form lasting friendships or feel a sense of belonging. His father's authoritarian parenting style only added to the young boy's sense of isolation and resentment. Alois's volatile temper cast a long shadow over the household. He was a man of few words but many rules, and he expected absolute obedience from his children. Any deviation from his expectations was met with harsh punishment. This created an atmosphere of fear and tension within the family, leaving young Adolf feeling both oppressed and rebellious. The family eventually settled in Linz. This city, larger and more vibrant than their previous homes, offered new opportunities and challenges. It was here that Adolf began to develop a sense of identity and ambition. The bustling streets of Linz, with their mix of cultures and ideas, provided a fertile ground for his growing aspirations. Here, amidst the bustling streets, a young Adolf developed a passion for art. He spent hours sketching and painting, losing himself in the world of colors and shapes. His mother, Clara, encouraged his artistic pursuits, seeing it as a way for her son to escape the harsh realities of their home life. For a time it seemed that art might be Adolf's salvation. He dreamt of becoming a painter, sketching grand visions in his notebooks. These dreams were his refuge, a place where he could imagine a different life free from his father's tyranny. His sketches, filled with intricate details and bold ideas, hinted at a mind that was both creative and restless. His strict upbringing and the turmoil of his family life, however, seemed to foreshadow a darker path. The constant conflict with his father, combined with the instability of their home life, left deep scars on young Adolf. These experiences began to shape his worldview, planting the seeds of resentment and anger that would later grow into something far more dangerous. The seeds of resentment and anger were already taking root. As he grew older, Adolf's frustrations with his father and his circumstances began to fester. He felt misunderstood and undervalued, and these feelings of inadequacy and bitterness started to manifest in troubling ways. His once innocent sketches began to take on darker themes, reflecting the turmoil within him. Even at a young age, Adolf displayed a stubborn will. He was determined to assert his independence, often clashing with his father and challenging his teachers. This defiance was not just a phase, it was a fundamental part of his character. He refused to be controlled, and this rebellious streak would later become a defining feature of his leadership style. He clashed with his father. He challenged his teachers. These confrontations were more than just typical adolescent rebellion. They were a sign of the deep-seated anger and frustration that simmered within him. Each argument, each act of defiance, was a step further down a path that would lead to unimaginable consequences. There was a fire in him, but it was a fire that seemed to burn with a cold, unsettling light. This intensity, this unyielding determination, was both his greatest strength and his most dangerous flaw. It drove him to pursue his ambitions with relentless focus, but it also blinded him to the moral and ethical boundaries that most people respect. The world would soon learn that this seemingly ordinary boy harbored extraordinary and terrifying ambitions. His early life, marked by conflict and ambition, was just the beginning. The experiences and emotions of these formative years would shape the man he would become, a man whose name would be synonymous with tyranny and destruction. His path was set to intersect with destiny, and the world would tremble before him. The seeds of dictatorship had been planted, and they would grow into a force that would change the course of history. As Adolf Hitler moved from childhood to adulthood, the world would witness the rise of one of its most infamous figures. Vienna, the grand capital of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, beckoned to the young Adolf. The city, with its rich cultural heritage and vibrant artistic scene, seemed like a beacon of hope and opportunity for many aspiring artists of the time. He yearned to study at the prestigious Academy of Fine Arts. This institution was renowned for nurturing some of the finest talents in Europe, and Adolf was determined to be among them. He saw himself as an artist, a visionary. He spent countless hours sketching and painting, believing that his work would one day be recognized and celebrated. He believed he had a unique talent. His confidence was bolstered by the praise he received from friends and acquaintances who admired his dedication and skill. The Academy's rejection, however, shattered his aspirations. Twice he applied, twice he was denied. Each rejection letter felt like a personal affront, a blow to his self-worth and dreams. His dreams lay in ruins. The rejection was not just a setback, it was a devastating blow that left him questioning his purpose and place in the world. He wandered the streets of Vienna, a bitter and disillusioned young man. The city's grandeur and beauty now seemed to mock his failures, deepening his sense of isolation. He drifted from one menial job to another. He lived in poverty. The once hopeful artist was now reduced to doing odd jobs just to survive, each day a struggle to make ends meet. He slept in homeless shelters. These places, filled with the destitute and desperate, became his refuge. The cold, impersonal environment only added to his growing resentment. It was a time of profound loneliness and despair. The vibrant city that once promised so much now felt like a prison, trapping him in a cycle of hopelessness. Vienna was also a melting pot of cultures and ethnicities. The city's diverse population included people from various backgrounds, each contributing to its rich tapestry. It was here that Adolf encountered the toxic brew of nationalism and anti-Semitism that would poison his mind. The political climate of the time was charged with xenophobia and hatred. He came to see the world as a struggle between races, with the Aryan race superior to all others. This dangerous ideology began to take root in his mind, distorting his worldview. He blamed the Jews for his misfortunes. In his twisted logic, they became the scapegoats for all his failures and disappointments. He saw them as a threat to German purity. The anti-Semitic propaganda he encountered only fueled his growing hatred and paranoia. The seeds of hatred were sown. These toxic ideas would later become the foundation of his genocidal policies. The years in Vienna were a crucible. They were a formative period that shaped his identity and beliefs in profound and disturbing ways. They forged in Adolf Hitler a dangerous worldview. He became withdrawn. He became hateful. The rejection and hardships he faced only hardened his resolve and deepened his animosity. He became obsessed with his own twisted vision of the world. This obsession consumed him, driving him further into the depths of hatred and fanaticism. The experience would forever shape the man who would rise to power in Germany. The seeds of resentment and hatred sown in Vienna would later bloom into one of the darkest chapters in human history. The year 1914 arrived, shattering the fragile peace of Europe. The continent, which had enjoyed a period of relative calm and prosperity, was suddenly thrust into chaos. The intricate web of alliances and treaties that had been designed to maintain balance now acted as a catalyst for widespread conflict. War erupted. It engulfed the continent in a maelstrom of violence. The scale of the conflict was unprecedented, with millions of men mobilized and entire nations' resources directed towards the war effort. The once serene landscapes of Europe were transformed into battlefields, scarred by trenches and artillery craters. For many, the war was a senseless tragedy. Families were torn apart, and the death toll climbed to unimaginable heights. The horrors of trench warfare, with its relentless bombardments and deadly gas attacks, left an indelible mark on those who survived. For Adolf Hitler, however, it was a revelation. The war provided him with a sense of purpose that he had never known before. Born in Austria, Hitler had drifted through life struggling to find his place, but the outbreak of war changed everything. He volunteered for the German army. Driven by a fervent sense of nationalism and a desire to prove himself, he eagerly joined the ranks of the soldiers heading to the front lines. The camaraderie and shared sense of mission among the troops gave him a newfound sense of belonging. He found a sense of belonging in the trenches. The brutal conditions and constant threat of death forged strong bonds among the soldiers. Despite the hardships, Hitler thrived in this environment, finding a sense of identity and purpose that had eluded him in civilian life. He embraced the camaraderie of his fellow soldiers. He served with distinction, displaying bravery and dedication that earned him the respect of his comrades. The war, with all its horrors, had given him a clear sense of direction. He was wounded in action. The injuries he sustained were a testament to his willingness to risk everything for the cause he believed in. His time in the hospital only strengthened his resolve. He was awarded the Iron Cross for bravery. This prestigious decoration was a source of immense pride for Hitler, reinforcing his belief in his own destiny and the righteousness of the German cause. The war, for all its horrors, provided him with something he had lacked: purpose. It gave him a cause to fight for and a community to belong to. The sense of mission and the bonds he formed with his fellow soldiers were experiences that would shape his future. He believed in the German cause with a fanaticism bordering on madness. The defeat of Germany in 1918 was a devastating blow to Hitler. The sense of betrayal he felt was profound. The defeat of Germany in 1918 was a devastating blow to Hitler. The sense of betrayal he felt was profound. He could not accept that Germany had been defeated on the battlefield. Instead, he believed that the nation had been stabbed in the back by internal enemies. He felt betrayed by the politicians and the Jews, whom he blamed for Germany's humiliation. He vowed revenge. This sense of betrayal and desire for retribution would become central to his ideology. The war had forged him into a weapon. The discipline, the sense of purpose, and the camaraderie he experienced in the trenches had transformed him. He was no longer the aimless young man he had once been. Now that weapon was seeking a target. He returned to Munich, a city simmering with discontent. The post-war period was marked by economic hardship, political instability, and social unrest. He returned to Munich, a city simmering with discontent. The Treaty of Versailles, with its harsh punishments for Germany, had created fertile ground for extremism. The sense of national humiliation and economic hardship fueled anger and resentment. The Treaty of Versailles, with its harsh punishments for Germany, had created fertile ground for extremism. The sense of national humiliation and economic hardship fueled anger and resentment. Hitler, with his fiery rhetoric and his promises of national redemption, was ready to seize the moment. Hitler, with his fiery rhetoric and his promises of national redemption, was ready to seize the moment. He tapped into the widespread discontent and positioned himself as the savior of the German people. The stage was set for his entry into politics. The war had given him a sense of purpose, and now he was determined to use that purpose to reshape Germany and the world. Post-war Germany was a chaotic and volatile place. The economy was in shambles, people were disillusioned, extremism was on the rise. It was in this atmosphere of anger and resentment that Adolf Hitler discovered his true calling: politics. He joined the small and insignificant German Workers' Party in 1919. He quickly rose through the ranks, his powerful voice and charisma attracting followers. He tapped into the anger of the German people. He channeled their resentment into a potent political force. He renamed the party the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party for short. Under his leadership, the party adopted a platform of extreme nationalism, anti-Semitism, and anti-communism. Hitler's message resonated with those who felt betrayed by the government and humiliated by Germany's defeat in the war. His star was rising. Hitler's speeches were mesmerizing. He was a master orator. He knew how to work a crowd. He appealed to their basest instincts. He promised them a return to greatness. He offered them a scapegoat for their problems: the Jews. He was a dangerous demagogue, and Germany was ripe for his message.